Welcome to this edition of News Today, a series in which we discuss and briefly analyze the important news of the day. Let's have a look at today's main headlines. UNESCO declares Garba of Gujarat as an intangible heritage. The Lok Sabha passes two bills related to Jammu and Kashmir. The United Nations Environment Programme releases the Global Cooling Watch 2023 report. India-Australia release the National Circular Economy Roadmap for the reduction of plastic waste in India. UN and WMO release the Global Status of Multi-Hazard Early Warning Systems 2023 report. The CBRE report finds that data center stock in India will cross 1300 megawatt by 2024. Starting with the first main news, the Garba of Gujarat has been declared as an intangible heritage by UNESCO. The inclusion has been made under the provisions of UNESCO's 2003 Convention for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. Garba is the 15th element from India to join this list. In the recent years, the intangible cultural heritage elements that saw inscriptions are Durga Puja in Kolkata in 2021, Kumbh Mela in 2017, Yoga in 2016, among others. Let's understand about Garba in more details. It is a ritualistic and a devotional dance that is performed during the festival of Navratri, which is dedicated to the worship of the feminine energy or Shakti. It celebrates fertility, honors womanhood, and pays respect to the mother goddess. Before we conclude this news, let's understand some basics about the Intangible Cultural Heritage or ICH. It is the practices, expressions, knowledge, and skills that communities, groups, and sometimes individuals recognize as part of their cultural heritage. There are 5 broad domains in which intangible cultural heritage is manifested: oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, and festive events, knowledge and practices concerning nature, and traditional craftsmanship. It raises awareness at the local, national, and international levels of the importance of the ICH. It provides for international cooperation and assistance for preserving and safeguarding the ICH. For its preservation, India has taken various steps like having Sangeet Natak Academy as the nodal office for matters related to the ICH, launching a scheme for safeguarding intangible heritage and diverse cultural traditions of India. Additionally, India has been elected as the member of an intergovernmental committee of UNESCO's 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of ICH for the 2022-2026 cycle.
Now the next news. Recently, 2 bills related to Jammu and Kashmir have been passed in the Lok Sabha. Starting with the first bill, called the J&K Reservation Amendment Bill 2023. Well, it amends the J&K Reservation Act of 2004. The Act provides for reservation in jobs and admission in professional institutions to members of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other socially and educationally backward classes, or SCBCs. Under the Act, SCBCs include the people residing in villages declared as socially and educationally backward, the people residing in areas adjoining the actual line of control and international border, and the weak and underprivileged classes as notified. The bill substitutes weak and underprivileged classes with other backward classes as declared by the UT of J&K. The definition of weak and underprivileged classes is deleted from the Act. Coming to the second bill, or the J&K Reorganization Amendment Bill 2023. It amends the J&K Reorganization Act of 2019. Let's go through the key highlights of the bill. The bill increases the total number of seats from 83 to 90. It reserves 7 seats for scheduled castes and 9 seats for scheduled tribes. It also provides for the nomination by Lieutenant Governor in Legislative Assembly. Up to 2 members from the Kashmiri migrant community, 1 must be a woman, and 1 member representing displaced persons from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
In another news, the United Nations Environment Programme has released the Global Cooling Watch 2023 report. The report demonstrates the potential and the pathways to achieve near zero emissions from cooling. This is important because cooling acts as a double burden on climate change by raising the demand for power at one end and inducing global warming due to the release of refrigerant gases in cooling equipment. Emissions from cooling are predicted to account for more than 10% of the global emissions in the year 2050. Let's have a look at the key highlights of the report. It says that in the year 2022, 82% of the global cooling-related greenhouse gas emissions came from G20 countries. Also, under the current approach to cooling, the installed capacity of cooling equipment globally will triple between now and the year 2050. Having said this, there are certain recommendations in this regard. These include passive strategies to address extreme heat and reduce cooling demand in buildings and in the cold chain. Also, higher energy efficiency standards and norms for cooling equipment is needed. Additionally, a phase down of climate warming hydrofluorocarbon refrigerants at a faster rate is required under the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Herein, it is important to note that the Global Cooling Pledge issued during the COP28 provides a real opportunity to act. The pledge provides a strong political push to take immediate steps to reduce emissions, increase passive strategies, improve energy efficiency, while phasing down hydrofluorocarbons. Also, in India, the India Cooling Action Plan was launched in 2019. It seeks to reduce the cooling and refrigerant demand across the sectors by 20 to 25% by the year 2037-38. It also seeks to recognize cooling and related areas as a thrust area of research under the National Science and Technology Program.
Coming to the next news, the National Circular Economy Roadmap for Reduction of Plastic Waste in India has been released. Circular economy in the context of plastics is defined as one which uses as little virgin plastic as possible and maximizes the use of recycled material for new products. The roadmap aims to foster research and industry partnerships and co-develop a roadmap for India's transition to a circular economy in the plastic sector. It has been released as collaboration between India and Australia. Let's understand as to why there is a need for a policy roadmap. India generates nearly 26,000 tons of plastic waste each day as per Central Pollution Control Board. The government's ban on single-use plastics in 2022 covers only 10 to 15% of plastics used. India's plastic recycling average is around 13%. Coming to the significance of such a circular economy, it will lead to 20% to 50% less greenhouse gas emissions, also reduce microplastics in food chain. It will also lead to the reduction in the landfills and enable digital tracking of waste streams. India's circular economy for plastics consists of 7 elements which include production, consumption, recycling, followed by supportive infrastructure, commercial viability, consistent compliance, and awareness and readiness. Coming to the proposed strategy to achieve circular economy, there is a need to set a single framework and implementation plan, develop a circular economy transition body, recognize and engage all stakeholders, and lastly, create systems to support states to design and implement the action plans.
Moving on to the next news, the Global Status of Multi-Hazard Early Warning Systems 2023 report has been released by the UN and the World Meteorological Organization. The Multi-Hazard Early Warning System enables individuals, communities, governments, business and others to take timely action to reduce disaster risk in advance of hazardous events. The 4 pillars of the Multi-Hazard Early Warning Systems are disaster risk knowledge, observation and monitoring, communication and preparedness to respond. Coming back to the report, it assesses the current global status of the multi-hazard early warning systems against the targets of the Sendai framework. Let's have a look at the key highlights of the report. The report says that out of 101 countries having such systems, 95 have reported the existence of a disaster risk reduction strategy. Also, the Common Alerting Protocol has helped the timely flow of information from authoritative sources to the public. Over 400 million people in the least developed countries and the small island developing states have access to better predictions and warnings for floods, droughts, and other such events. Having said this, there are certain challenges in this regard as well. Currently, only half of the world is covered by an early warning system, and the increasing unpredictability, complexity, and severity of hazardous events are challenging the system's capability. In India, the disaster risk knowledge and management, warning, dissemination, and communication are not adequate. However, preparedness response capabilities and detection, monitoring, forecasting capabilities are available. Before we conclude this news, let's explore the initiatives taken for disaster risk reduction. At the global level, the Early Warnings for All initiative and the Regional Integrated Multi-Hazard Early Warning System for Africa and Asia are present. At the domestic level, India hosted the first Asian Ministerial Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction. We are also part of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure and have installed certain systems like the Indian Tsunami Early Warning System, iFlows for Mumbai, and CFlows for Chennai.
Coming to the next news. As per a recently released report by the CBRE, data center stock in India will cross 1300 megawatts by 2024. A data center is a dedicated secure space within a building or a centralized location where computing and networking equipment is concentrated to collect, store, process, distribute, or allow access to large amounts of data. India's data center capacity doubled between 2020 and 2023 to reach approximately 880 megawatts as of the first half of 2023, with nearly 500 megawatts currently under construction. Mumbai, Chennai, and Bangalore will collectively dominate data center stock with an 80% share by the end of 2024. Now let's take a look at the various drivers of data center growth. Rapid digitalization, enhanced tech infrastructure, and the inclusion of advanced technologies such as 5G, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and cloud computing are the major reasons. Another major factor is the data localization policies. Data localization refers to the practice of keeping data within the country it originated from. Several initiatives have been taken for the growth of the data centers, which include the Draft Data Policy 2020, which envisages incorporation of data centers under the Essential Services Maintenance Act, or ESMA, recognizing data centers as a separate category under the National Building Code, setting up of data center economic zones, infrastructure status to DC with more than 5 megawatt capacity of IT load. Another major development is the YOTA D1, which is North India's first hyperscale data center. The personality in the news for today is Rukmini Lakshmipathi. Rukmini Lakshmipathi was a freedom fighter, social reformer from Andhra Pradesh's West Godavari district. She was influenced by Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Rajgopalachari, and Sarojini Naidu. Let's take a look at her contributions. She participated in the civil disobedience movement, took part in the Salt Satyagraha of 1930 in Vedaranyam of Madras Presidency. She became the first female prisoner in Salt Satyagraha movement. She was elected to Madras Legislative Council. Later, she became the first woman to become a member of the Legislative Assembly. In 1946, she served as a Ministry of Health in Madras Presidency Cabinet, becoming the first woman Minister in State. She exhibited the personality values of courage, fortitude, selflessness, and patriotism.
As we conclude today's main news, let's go through some quick updates. Recently, in 47 seats across 4 states, Nota or the none of the above option polled more votes than the winning margin. Nota is one of the options available in the EVM. Southeastern Coalfields Limited will undertake plantation using the Miyawaki method in coal belt region of Chhattisgarh. It is a method pioneered by the Japanese botanist Akira Miyawaki that involves planting native trees, shrubs, and ground cover plants within every square meter to create a dense canopy layer of tall trees in small land parcels. Recently, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology blocked over 100 websites based on inputs from Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, also known as the I4C. It was established by the Ministry of Home Affairs to deal with all types of cybercrime in the country in a coordinated and a comprehensive manner. As of 2023, the National Automated Fingerprint Identification System has been established at 1022 locations across the country. It is a countrywide searchable database of crime and criminal-related fingerprints. Recently, India's first patient diagnosed with Pompe disease died. It is a rare inherited disorder that affects 1 child per million. Diel vertical migration is synchronized movement of deep-sea marine animals up and down in oceanic water column over a daily cycle. Recently, a book fair opened at the National Archives of India. It functions as an attached office of the Ministry of Culture as a custodian of the records of the government. Recently, 4 products from Meghalaya received a GI tag. These tags are given by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and are administered by the Geographical Indications of Goods Registration and Protection Act of 1999. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to the test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure to check out the links in the description below.